Professor, Department of Nano Computing, to introduce the chief guest.
I'm glad to cordially invite our chief guest speaker, Mr. Kaushik Suresh, Managing Partner and Co-founder at Canary Biosensors. Canary Biosensors is a company in India which develops molecular imprinted polymer-based diagnostics, and their first product is a home creatinine test for chronic kidney disease patients. Mr. Kaushik pursued his BTO 2021, such a young entrepreneur. He has worked on various products for healthcare domain. He is currently working on electrochemical point of care biosensor technology for remote and robust diagnostics of small biomolecules, which is funded by Nidhi Prayas prototyping agent. So it's a privilege for all of us gathered here to have such a young, successful innovator. With huge applause, I call upon our guest to grace the dais with his inspiring speech.
Okay, good morning to everyone here. Thank you, ma'am, for the introduction speech, and thank you, sir, for the felicitation. So, by a quick show of hands, how many of you are desiring to be entrepreneurs? Quick show of hands. Okay, it's quite a number. So, which year are you from? Second, third, first. Okay. Yeah. So, by the time when you come to fourth year, if the same number shows up, then I'll be very happy. So, just trying to introduce myself. I'm Kaushik. I studied from India. During my final year, I started my first company. It's called Canary Biosensors. So, how many of you have seen a glucometer? Glucometer. Yeah. So you know what a glucometer is, right? So you use it on diabetic patient to check their glucose levels. So any user, any patient with a CKD can use this device to test his creatinine from his home. So it's very simple. He just has to pick himself, put the blood drop on the strip, and and the device measures the creatinine level. So this is our first product that we are trying to do. Right now we are in the development stage. It's been 2 years so far, and for the first year we were working in concept design, one of them. In the second year we were working on getting the proof of concept, and now we are fast tracking the development process. So let me start this talk by just introducing the three terms that are important. Okay. So what is a product? What is entrepreneurship? And what is a company? So can anyone differentiate between these three things? Anyone? Can they? Okay. So a product is very simple. A product is something that can solve a customer's need. That is a product. It can be software, it can be hardware, it can be anything. Okay. Second one, entrepreneurship. So, is entrepreneurship it's a career path or is it a quality? What do you guys think it is? Quality. Anybody who thinks it's a career path? Both. Okay, good answer. So, entrepreneurship is nothing but the quality, capability, and the competency required to innovate and develop new products, start a company, and create something new. So there can be entrepreneurs existing within the company as well. They don't have to start their own company. So even within company, entrepreneurship can be possible. So you have to strive for innovation, try to see change, try to change things and be agents of change. So that is the fundamental quality required for entrepreneurship. So what do you guys think a medical device is? Coming to medical device. So a medical device is anything. It can be a device, it can be an instrument, it can be a reagent, or it can be software that is used for medical purpose. It's very simple. So my talk is more specific towards medical devices, because I am in that sector. I thought it will be much better if I can speak more about the medical device. So okay, so all young entrepreneurs, let me ask you one important question. What do you think is important to start a company? Number one, idea. Number two, problem. So what do you think it is? Idea or problem? Problem. Problem. So that part is very clear. So you start with the problem, and who should have the problem? Customer. Okay. Yeah, looks like you got all the basics right. So customer has to have the problem. And how do you know if a customer has a problem or not? Yeah, that's a great point. Like, if you are facing the problem, I think you are your best customer. So all ideas start from a problem. So number one rule of entrepreneurship is, or creating a startup or a product is, don't start with ideas, start with a problem. So your customer needs to have this core problem that is, he faces in his everyday life that makes his life difficult, right? And the customer could have tried to solve this problem by doing something else also. So that is the core. That's a starting point for having any idea or any companies. So let me think of a use case here. Okay, let's start with diabetes patient. Okay, so in a diabetic patient, the sugar level goes up and down continuously, right? So when you ask a diabetic patient to describe his life, before the invention of the sugar test, what do you think it was going to be? He faced a difficulty in managing his sugar levels, right? He does not, the patient does not know what food to take in, at what time, when should he inject insulin to himself. So these were the core problems faced by the diabetic customer, right? And so who saw this opportunity? Companies like Einstein, which is now owned by Roche. So they saw this opportunity. So they went and asked their user, how do you do your diagnostics? The user said, look, I have to go to a hospital or I have to go to a lab. So only if I go there, I could get my sugar levels tested. And so this was the difficult part in the user's life. So Einstein or Roche, they thought, okay, what if I introduce a test that you can do in your home? Will it add any value to you? So this was the fundamental assumption they started with. And they did come up with a product. And of course they did come up with a product and they gave it to the user. And the user started using this product maybe twice a day, thrice a day, 4 times a day. And the users benefited a lot from this product because they could keep their glucose tested every day. They can probably get their insulin shots also. They don't have to travel to a hospital or they don't have to go to a lab. So all I'm trying to say is the user here faced a core problem that he faced a difficulty in his life. So that's where products start from. So as entrepreneurs, search for problems, don't search for ideas. Okay. So that's from the problem side. Now coming to once you find a customer has a problem, alright? So how do you know what could be the right solution for them? So what would you generally do once you find that there's a problem exists? What do you think is the next step? Once you find there is a problem, this user cannot test himself every day or regularly, what do you do next? Think of a solution. So where do you start thinking? You can be a little louder. You can speak up more. Okay, interesting. So the statement was, we will see the previous ideas and compare what is suitable for this patient. Now there's only one difficulty, there's only one part that has to be thought about. If the solution already existed previously, why is the customer facing a problem right now? So what if no previous solution is able to meet the present need? Right? So there you need to do a lot of fundamental analysis. You need to understand the user's requirements. So number one requirement, testing from home, right? Number one requirement, testing from home. Number two requirement is that the test that is being performed in a lab versus in a home. So you need to understand what are all the technical challenges that you will face. Right? Now once you get to the user requirement, you need to understand what are all the technical challenges you face. It's very hard to do a test which is done in the lab to do it in a home, right? Because you need to maintain that condition. Your platform has to be stable. There's a lot of difficulties. So there you need to do little research on what are all the problems that as a company or as a product you will face when doing it at home. So once you discover the problem, so understand the problem, write the user requirements, and try to foresee what are the challenges that you may probably have or you may face in the future with your product. Try to list down all the problems. So then you can try to identify any new technology or any technology that is existing which can meet the problems faced by which can meet the technical challenges. So for example, from my journey, I faced one clear problem. So if I have to do a creatinine test in the user's house, right, the main problem was the diagnostics has to happen at room temperature, right? So the testing has to happen at room temperature, that too with a small volume of blood, right? You cannot take a huge volume in the patient's home. So this was the technical challenge I had to face. And I looked at the existing products and they were priced, they were like very highly priced and it was not affordable for the user. And then all the other solutions were this bulk. So you can't expect to give this big product in the user's home. So we came up with a new technology. We looked at a technology that can perform diagnostics at room temperature. That is much more smaller. The patient can carry it in his hands, which is more miniaturized. And then something that can give very quick results. So these are the three technical requirements we wrote. So after writing these technical requirements, we identified the technology. So I'm not going a little deep into that. So we identified a most suitable technology, but that was still in the nascent stage. So only research has gone, not many products have. So in technologies like these, the challenge is you don't have widespread knowledge available to build a product. You don't have existing engineers who can come, who can build a product. So this is where you need to persist even more. So now we have come to the technology requirement, right? So once you identify what technology you're going to use, what would be suitable for you, this is when you need to start making a prototype. So once you've listed in design what you have to do retail, you need to start making prototypes. So start experimenting and whatever money you can find or with grants or with your own funding, start making a prototype. Okay, start making a prototype and try to validate if that technology is meeting your technical requirement. So this is very important so that you validate your own technology and you can know whether your tech will work in the user's context. So it's very important. So this part we call it as proof of concept. So this is what is called as proof of concept. That it doesn't have to be the actual product that you're building, but it can be the downscaled version of it in terms of performance, in terms of usability, in terms of featuring. It can be a downscaled version. But all you're trying to do is you're trying to prove that your concept works. So as a startup, you don't have many resources with you, nor you have the time with you, nor you have the money with you. So all you can do is effectively try to build a proof of concept, something that is very simple. So let me give you a small case. So there was a company in US which wanted to build a factory for hydrogen peroxide production. Okay. So usually the factory now is like super big, it has acres and acres, huge tanks of production, all these things. But guess how big their proof of concept was? Okay, have you seen a fish tank, a glass fish tank? This one. They did their entire proof of concept in a small fish tank. So all they did was their concept had to work, and they built in a much more downscale, low-cost version of their proof of concept. So as medical device startups, try to get to the POC once you have a technical idea in mind. So that will take some money, it will take some funding that you can avail from a lot of funding sources. So like example I got from DST, Nidhi Prize. Similarly, there's a lot of idea to POC guys. So whoever is interested, you can apply for it and get some money to get the POC. So what next after POC? What are the other challenges faced by a medical device company? Right? So this is where the part of medical device standards comes in. So unlike other products, unlike software, unlike even some other hardware products, medical devices face a problem of having very high standards. So if you try to launch a product and it has to be used by the patient, there is a lot of risk to the patient with your product. And due to that, the standardization requirement of the product is very high. So then you need to engineer your product a lot more. You need to do a lot more R&D, prove that your product works in a clinical environment. So next stage of your POC, you must gear yourself up towards development. So in that development, you need to identify what is the target metrics that you want to achieve, what is the standard that you want to achieve, and what all testing that you have to do. Because when you start medical device, without doing 2 to 3 rounds of clinical trials, you cannot get to the market. You cannot convince your doctor to buy your device. Right? So it's very important that you identify the standards and you list down what all metrics that your product has to be, and you gear your entire development team towards that goal. So that would probably take you 1 year or even 2 years. And after that, the next part of your medical device development is clinical validation. So I'll just recap what all I said. Start with the problem, develop choose a concept, do a detailed design, list down all the detailed design, start your POC and finish your proof of concept. After proof of concept, do a identification of standards and all of that, and try to develop your minimum viable product. Okay? Do the development and try to build the minimum viable product, and then try to go for clinical validation. This is the next step. So during clinical validation, all you need to do is, if it's a diagnostic test, you need to talk to a hospital ethics committee, get whatever blood samples, and start testing your device with the clinical test environment. Suppose if you are building a ventilator, okay, so you need to, once you design your ventilator, do all those tests, you have to take it to a patient and let the patient start using the device. But this has to be in an ethical way. So you need to get a hospital ethical committee approval. You need to write your protocol, and you have to start doing the user testing or the clinical testing. So you will be going through rounds of clinical testing until your product is proved to be safe and proved to be only when your product poses very minimal risk for the user, then your medical device will be released. So you got to go through a lot of clinical validation, and once it is done, you can launch your product into the market. So this entire journey takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. So for example, a typical medical device company, right, for that company to get its first device into the market, right, it takes close to 5 years in time and 4 to 5 crores investment minimum. It can range up to 20, 50 crores also for startup. So this is the challenge that you will be taking on as an entrepreneur or who's focused in the medical device. You have to put a lot of work and sweat for minimum 4 to 5 years till you get to a mature level. So only then you can be able to go to the market and do sales. So at this time you may be thinking like, okay, why should I put all my effort? Why should I go to hardware? Why should I do medical device? Why should I spend 5 years of my time working on a medical device that the company may fail. So there is always this question, right? So there are perks to it also. So once you put 5 years of development, right, it means that you are 5 years ahead in the game. And since medical device has a regulatory kind of a framework, when you pass those regulations, there are very few companies that operate in that space. Let's say you go and you start a software company, okay? It takes, software life cycle is typically 18 months and it's reducing. So your product will be in the market not more than 18 months. But for a medical device, the life cycle is 10 years. So once you clear your market trial, you can sell your devices for a 10 years framework with very, very less competition, and you can make a lot of money. Right? So that is the logic why people start medical device companies. And right now, in this country, it's very important that we have more entrepreneurs starting up medical device companies, because even though we are a country of 1 billion, right, over 60% of our medical devices are imported. 60 to 70% of our medical devices are imported. Right? So it's not a question of talent. We have all the talent that are available. Right? It's not a question of talent. It is not a question of finance, because we do have the finance available. And of course, right now, you can manufacture any device in India. You have that capability. Any medical device can be manufactured in India. So it is not a question of manufacturing as well. It is all the question of how many entrepreneurs are coming out, how many of them are starting companies. That's all it is. So it is a risk which is involved, and naturally, we want more people who start companies and take the risk and solve this gap. So that is the only thing. So that's the typical life cycle of a medical device company. You start with an idea, you start with a problem, you get to an idea, and develop a POC, develop an MVP, go to clinical trials, and then hit the market. So once you hit the market, some doctors may use the device, some may not. Even it will take time for you to market. So it's a typical life cycle of a medical device. But once you get it standardized to a certain extent, you can probably sell your device in large volumes. You can sell it in other countries. So that is the entire picture of it. And entrepreneurship in medical device requires a lot of patience, diligence, and requires a lot of effort. But don't worry. Don't think about I don't have the money to start a company, because finance is now available literally everywhere. If you are building a medical device company, and if you are good with your idea, solid with your technology, I think you can access finance from literally anywhere. You have grants to support you till you reach your clinical trial and get your market. So there's a lot of handholding in this matter. So I would personally encourage most of you, if you are genuinely interested, to start a company. And if you are really interested in med device, great, you can start a company as well. So this is the entire gist of it. So right now, we are mostly into development. We haven't even hit the clinical trial stage, and it's been over 2 years of effort for me. And I personally hope that after another year, I might go slowly to the clinical trial mode. And the best part about entrepreneurship is, you guys are young, right? You guys are very, very young. And at the same time, you guys are not too mature, right? You guys are a little immature. So that is fine. The moment you start a company, you'll realize that, I thought when I first started my company, and I was very immature. And now when I look back, it's kind of funny. But I've learned a lot. You will learn a lot in this journey. Because when you start a company, it's a lot of things that involved, and you generally learn a lot. And that's the learning is more than any learning you can get by working in a company or doing an MS degree. It's a lot more. Okay? It's a lot more challenging, because you learn technology, you learn how to make products, you learn how to manage people who trust in your vision. You learn how to manage finance, and you finally learn how to take your product to the market. So there's a lot of learning that is involved and packaged in this startup journey, right? So I would say, if somebody is deeply interested, I think you can start right away. And since you're young, there's there is a lot of scope for making mistakes. There's a lot of scope for making mistakes, and you can learn from it. And that learning is very important at a younger age. Right? So don't hesitate to start companies because somebody you're thinking that, you know, what if I fail, nobody will give me a job, I can't do this. But that's not the case. Entrepreneurs are like, even if you wind up your company, you can get a very good job. And people at corporates, they want entrepreneurs to be their employees. So don't worry about it. I'll encourage everyone to start a company if you're genuinely interested. So I'm open for a Q&A. So anyone has any idea to share with, or anyone has any questions for me, feel free to ask it right away.
If you have any queries, kindly interact with us.
And one more thing I forgot to add is, at this age, try to seek out for technology. Be hungry for tech. Be hungry for getting more tech-driven products out. Don't be limited to the scope that you have. You can always travel anywhere. Travel to the best companies in India, best labs in India. Find the best tech that is available. And why only look for it? Why only look in India? You can also look abroad. You can try to see what is the best tech somebody is working on and try to bring it here. So that is one suggestion. Always have always have a cutting edge technology in your product or anything. It is always valuable. Nobody else can create such cutting edge if you are able to achieve it, and you will have a lot of advantage later on.
I have a query. What strategy you use to market your business?
Yeah, so I said I was in the development, I'm in the development stage, so I haven't quite marketed my business yet. So we are more in stealth mode. But generally, startups in the medical device, right? Startups in the medical device, the only marketing that you could do early on to sell your maybe first 100 products is that when you do your clinical trial, right, in a hospital or something, you could probably have a doctor as a PI or research, and you can perform the clinical trial in the hospital. And usually, the hospital where you perform your clinical trial, they end up to be your first customers because they know that your product works. Clinical trial has happened in that product, and they have accredited that product. So they can be your first customers. Once they are your first customers, or they buy certain quantities of product from you, you can probably approach key opinion leaders. So in the medical industry, usually they say key opinion leaders, right? For example, if an AIMS doctor comes on television and says, "Do this for corona, don't take this medicine," everybody follows it, right? So that's how the industry works. Try to approach key opinion leaders and have discussion with them about your product. So if they are interested, they can influence the rest of the market. So that is how I would recommend startups to go about it. And don't try to spend huge money on marketing early on. It's not advisable. So wherever you're doing a clinical trial, try to get them as your first customers and focus on word of mouth. Advertisements are not very much. It's not very fruitful for a company and for a medical device company. Focus on word of mouth. Key opinion leaders. Word of mouth as well. So one thing that I found was there's a place, any hospital, right? They have a huge network of other hospitals as well. So if you go, I went to Narayana Hridaya recently. So they have a network of 60 plus hospitals. So once you get to a good hospital with a great network, like Apollo or Kaveri or anywhere, you can probably have their own network hospitals buying the product. But to get to that stage, you need to improve your product really well, and you need to have it standardized and certified by many bodies, not only India, but also by Europe, CE, FDA, and all those things. No, my product is not out for sales. Yeah, I have high hopes. So only since I have hope, I'm trying to do this. If I lost hope, I would wind up my company right away.
What is the main source of your?
Yeah. So when I had an idea. So the place where I'm from, it had an incubator called Made It, and they had funding program called Nidhi Prayas, okay, which was funded by the DST, Department of Science and Technology. So there are so many incubators offering Nidhi Prayas, many in Chennai, that gives you close to 10 lakhs to reach to a particular milestone, to reach to a proof of concept, or something that is close to a proof of concept. So I exhausted my Nidhi Prayas, and then I got Tamil Nadu Government Fund, which is called IEP, Innovation Voucher Program. So there also I got close to 5 lakhs. This is in my first year of the company. Then after that, all the money got exhausted, and I applied for a seed fund, a very early stage seed fund, by again DST, it is called Nidhi Seed. So they fund somewhere between 25 lakhs to 1 crore. So I got 25 lakhs from them for an equity. I gave a certain percentage of shares of my company to the incubator, and I got my seed fund. Okay, and I got one more fund which is called Atal New India Challenge, ANIC, which is done by the Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog. So I got a fund close to 1 crore, which is like 80 lakhs grant and 20 lakhs equity. So so far that's all the funding I've got at a base. Mostly it has been government source. So the thing is, in this medical device, you cannot, let's say, for you, if it takes 5 crores to build a company, right, to get your product to the market, to the sales, nobody's going to give 5 crores upfront. The funding is milestone basis. In hard tech, always that's the case. Let's say you have an idea, take a small fund, build a POC, take a little bigger fund to do your development and all of that, and to finish your development, take another fund, another fund or a small chunk. Do your clinical validation with it. Once you're certain of your clinical validation, then you can probably approach any angel investment or any angel investment. Because till you have your clinical trial result, angel investor or venture capital is going to fund you. So you need to go through government sources of funding. And then once you have a clinical trial, you can approach angel investment, get a good chunk of money, start selling your devices. Once you have a good number of products in the market, you can approach venture capital, and they might be interested in funding your company and scaling your company to the next level. So focus on milestones. Any other questions? So I'm from EC background. So how I started this company and why I'm doing something in biomedical. Right? Okay. One thing is that I don't start with the tech. I don't start with this is what I know. I can start something else. I don't start like that. I saw the problem in first hand. I saw a chronic kidney disease patient, how difficult their life was, and what kind of problems they are facing. So I understood that I need to do something about it. Then when I got to the problem and I got to an idea, then I realized having electrochemical sensor technology is going to be suitable for me. Then whatever skills I need for that technology, I tried reading and acquiring that skills and knowledge. And of course, we did some of our technology is like borrowed from research from European universities, like London and Swedish universities, something like that. We got an advisory and from these research from these universities. So that's what, like I didn't invent the entire technology. I got advice from whoever did years of research to do the plan. So you don't have to know all the tech. If somebody is good at it, you can get their advice and the things done also.
If your product is not for sale, how can a user reach out for your product? Is there any other way?
No, I'm not saying my product is not for sale. It has not yet come to the level of sales. It's in the development stage.
And how long
Yeah.
will it take?
Yeah, good question. So my target is in 1 year. I'm planning to finish all the development, do a preclinical validation, and in the next 6 to 7 months, I wanted to start doing the clinical trial. So 1.5 to 1.7 years. I would say one year and 7 months goes to. It will take that much time for me to start initiating the sales.
We can like generally get it in any medical store.
Yeah, you can. My first business model is going to be online. I'm not going through the medical pharma value chain. It is going to be B2B. I want to try to sell directly to the customers, and it's going to be online for any customers to use. See, the problem about starting with the direct pharma approach, it's like only 20% of the product margins will come to you. So a lot of levels, they do nothing. They just distribute the product from one place to another, and they have a 15% margin. So that is not a very viable business strategy to start with. So I'm going to go online. Then you can sell online. You don't need pharmacies to sell. Any other questions? So if anyone needs any help from my side, you can like reach out to me later on. Like I've shared some of my profile with Vidya ma'am. She can like connect me with you. Yeah.
Thank you for your enlightening speech. Your kind presence in program encouraged us a lot and made us more confident in any situation. Thank you, sir. Give a big round of applause. Now I kindly request Dr. Kamashi ma'am, Associate Professor, Department of Signal and Image Processing, to deliver a vote of thanks.
It gives me immense pleasure in posing a vote of thanks on this honor occasion. Thank you. First and foremost, I would like to thank our chief guest, Mr. Kaushik Suresh, Managing Partner and Co-founder of Calgary Biosensors, in giving his valuable experience of being a successful entrepreneur. And I would like to thank our director ma'am, the management for the guidance and support, and the faculty members, and of course all the students for being very patient and for your sincere cooperation in making this event successful. Once again, I thank all of you for this occasion.